Hello my friends, let's start this video from drone videos. I know you like them a lot, so here's the Ukrainian drone. It flies to hit some of the Russian dugout. Well, actually the facility or the building where Russians stored their vehicles for the further assaults. And let's watch this one. Drone flies, our drone operator controls this drone. It's not the fiber optic control drone, and you can see it here, yeah? Niva vehicles, 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. It's crazy, but there is something behind that you will see later on in this video, and I was shocked, really. Yeah, the drone continues flight, and probably you can see it already, yeah? You can see what is there in the end. Crazy. Those are the horses, 2 of them, and it seems like Russia collected all colors of those Niva vehicles. We have one red, white, some sort of the dark blue and something else. And those are the horses, guys. The horses. Jeez. And now our drone operator, he thinks which vehicle is better to hit. Well, the white one was empty. It was visible. For the red one, well, you need to get closer to the wall to really check out what is inside. But I would say that from the most of the vehicles, the red one looks the most maintained. But something is here, yeah? This Niva is used for supplies, for sure. And here is some of the gear that was kaputted. Military equipment here and there, some of the backpacks and other provisions. So I may see that this is the shovel here, a helmet, maybe some of the parts for drones, who knows, in those bags. So actually, from all of the Niva vehicles, this one was the most juicy, and it was easy to identify that it was carrying something. The problem goes with those horses, probably their gun too. Despite the Ukrainian drone didn't hurt them directly, but there was the fire. As you can see, it's kind of the closed room still, and there are some of the holes, but they, I think, do not help that much. So maybe those horses, they either were shrapnelled a little and wounded, or they suffocated. Hopefully not. Hopefully I'm wrong, but Ukraine simply doesn't have another chance of how to dismantle Russian logistics. If they see that Russians are using those vehicles, it's better to nail them down. So the horses are not the direct targets, and our drone operators, they do everything. Then they see Russians with the horses, they try to scare the horse and let it go away and to hurt just Russian infantry. But sometimes, unfortunately, animals are also not just struggling, but they're being unalived by either Ukrainian drones or by the fire that I guess sparked in the place. You might also see some of the motorbikes, so it's better, of course, to destroy this Russian dugout and unfortunately with the horses than to let Russians to use those cars in their logistics and attacks on the Ukrainian positions. Potentially it could bring losses for the Ukrainian side, the Ukrainian army, or even the Ukrainian civilians. So of course this operation is needed, even with those horses losses. And there behind it was not Niva, yeah, that vehicle. It is Moskvich. The number plates of those vehicles are Russian. Sometimes Russia just steals vehicles from Ukrainian people, Ukrainian civilians, and they use those for the further attack operations. Yeah, most of those attacks, they just failed. So it's kind of the unique video. I wanted to share it with you at the very beginning of the video, just to show the logistics of the second army in the world. I wonder if they were planning to change the color of this particular Niva, because the red one, during the winter time especially, it's very, very well visible. The white one is okay, but this... But Russia continued to use armored vehicles and sometimes even tanks. We have the report from our officer of Ukrainian army who say that his and other units have destroyed for the recent time 9 of T-62M tanks. He says destroyed by my company T-72B3M. So Russia has losses in all of the aspects, because for drones, well, for tanks and BMPs, Ukraine will waste more drones than for unarmored vehicles. That's understandable. But the result in general is the same as for this and as for this. Absolutely. Zeroed, flatlined, cancelled, kaputted, all of the vehicles, everything which is moving is being spotted, identified, and basically destroyed. So Russians are trying to come out with solutions to protect their vehicles. This is a pure Mad Max style. Absolutely. This is the unmanned ground vehicle equipped with a special engine and a gearbox Here you can see everything is rotating. Those rods, yeah, metal rods are rotating. Allegedly, it should protect the vehicle against the drone strikes, but something tells me that it will not work. And Russia filmed the report about it. They say it is okay, it will work and will protect our UGVs. I don't honestly think that it will protect it. There's a huge zone on top, and I think it's useless. But Russians, it means that they're in desperate, right? That they're coming out with those solutions, like Niva vehicles, horses. Now they have rotating rods on this vehicle. They just don't know how to gain the space of propelling forward, establishing supplies, and so on. So they're testing everything, but it doesn't help. Nothing helps. And here they're saying that they're testing this one. Yeah, it's, I guess, useless. Well, this idea is not a new one. Before, Russians published those kind of the images showing Bukhanka van with all of those motors and some of the rods rotating. Yeah, helicopter, helicopter. I think they published this image in 2024, but never made it. And you see, the doors are basically blocked here. The main door. Very nice. My friends, we have some good news about my channel. You start to subscribe and we have this boost since yesterday. Thank you so much for subscribing for my channel. It really helps, especially if you watch this video. Like helps and also subscriptions. So if you haven't been subscribed, subscribe. You would help this channel a lot. And here it was the YouTube glitch. Maybe they're fighting some bots or whatever. But definitely this decline happened not just for me, but to other YouTubers as well. I already cross-checked it. Thank you guys for your kind support, especially those guys, by the way, who support me on Patreon and membership. You're awesome and you make this content possible. Let's continue. Ukraine is using lots of the vampire drones. Those are so-called Baba Yaga, capable to carry lots of the payload, several of the modern mines. Sometimes it is equipped with Starlink, so it's a very effective tool for Ukrainian army. Russians, they don't have this tool somehow, yeah? It's kind of easy. Technology is easy. Russians, come on. But because they have issues now with internet, the Lancet drones are more preferable for Russians. However, Ukraine sometimes may intercept Lancets with the help of the anti-drone warfare. Yeah, pink color is kind of interesting here. Also, this drone interceptor, Diki Shershny, this drone is called Sting, Pink Sting, anti-Shahid drone. That's how it intercepts Russian drones, and this Shahid was carrying R-60 missile. This is anti-aircraft air-to-air missile, but there was no any information that Russia successfully used this missile against the Ukrainian Air Force. But Ukrainian aviation is out there. It is also used to shut down Russian Shahids, and I want to play this video fully for you, my friends. You probably heard the sound. Vroom. Not like this one, but kind of similar, yeah. F-16 equipped with Vulcan cannon. Yeah, a little bit poor job from the cameraman, but at least he or she published this Shahid drone, the kaboom itself, and the plane flying. Yeah, I would be also shaking if I saw it with my own eyes. Crazy and very beautiful. Actually, I think A-10s would help Ukraine a lot, especially in shutting down Russian cruise missiles, Russian Shahid drones, but unfortunately, United States, they are not willing to transfer those to Ukraine. They'll be just retired, I think this year. They plan to retire A-10, but still it performs missions in Syria. Very strange that they want to retire that aircraft. I think it's better to upgrade it or to develop some new attack airplane, because attack airplanes, they really matter, as the modern day war shows that Ukraine and Russia, they use both Sukhoi 25 attack airplanes. They're very effective, and there are not many losses actually from both of the sides. Yeah, Russia loses more of the airplanes than Ukraine, but they use those more often, and they have many of those. Ukraine, not so many. More about the front lines, for example, in Ternuvata village, Ukraine went in a counterattack, definitely putting their own flag in that village. The Russian offensive failed here, but with every sort of the counterattack, you may see that Ukraine is losing vehicles. So we may check it out here. Russians hit Ukrainian vehicle in Ternuvata. We have the clarification, probably it's one more MRAP. Yeah, here's the video. It was MRAP that was hit by FPV. And there was the convoy of Ukrainian vehicles, but it was far behind the front lines. It was filmed on Russian Lancet. The Lancet drone hit one more vehicle, and we have it on the map. You may see that Ukrainians use the same protection for the vehicles, roads, and yeah, it seems like Russia hit many of the Ukrainian vehicles. It's something new. On the way in Ternuvata, probably. Yeah, one vehicle was lost, the other. So totally Ukraine lost 3 of the vehicles in this region. From what I saw, and the Ukrainian infantry landed in the bushes. But also in this compilation, I saw all the videos as well. So Russia put everything all together. On the map, we have clarification 4 actually. 1, 2, 3, 4 vehicles, but nevertheless, the operation in general was successful. Ukraine took control over Ternuvata. That's why it's more profitable for Ukraine to stay in defense and not to have losses, actually. But the local commanders told Ukraine that, okay, you need to go and take Ternuvata. Every sort of this attack brings losses, as you saw in the video. But yeah, now we have this image of the downed Russian flag. This is the Ternuvata village on the background, the entrance to it, and Ukrainian army with a flag. Also one more image with the Ukrainian flag from the drone camera. So how many infantry losses are out there for Ukrainian army in this counteroffensive action? It's definitely hard to say, but the result is that Ternuvata was liberated and Russians will have to send many more attacks trying to get this village back under their control. Russians lost at least one of the supply vehicles in this area, but mainly they go forward on their own feet. That tactics Ukraine should avoid. Absolutely. It's better to lose those 4 vehicles, 10 vehicles, but not the infantry, because vehicles, they are like protection, against the drones. And in any case, you may land somewhere from the vehicle or hide in the bushes, in the tree lines, somewhere if the vehicle is disabled. But this is the first protection, the vehicle. For infantry, if they're being spotted by a surveillance drone, Russian drone, there is no way out. Absolutely. And there was also a Ukrainian group spotted in Pridorozhny village, not far away from Ternuvata. Our guys are everywhere out there. They completely kicked out Russians from the place. So Ukraine is using the advantage in communication, but still Russians, as you see, they send their drones behind the front lines, very far behind. They're capable to hit Ukrainian vehicles, but not as much as they used to. Because surveillance drones, they're also equipped sometimes with Starlinks, and they transmit the live data to the Russian command centers. Now they don't have those options. Pokrov's direction, what I may say that Ukraine is using drones elsewhere way more than the day before. It is a good sign. Ukraine continued to defend Pokrovsk and Mirnograd, causing losses for Russians. In Konstantinivka direction, Russians are trying to break through to this settlement from this flank, from the east flank. They went to this local park area with a lake and they tried to go to those private households. Well, Ukraine is again using drones quite successfully here. I already cross-checked this information that there is still no presence of the Russian army in the eastern side of Konstantinivka. Russians even tried to send reinforcements to the place using this road T-0504. Couple of the tanks were lost for Russians. Let's check out this video. So here we have it. Russian tank goes. Also, they have the losses on the way. And Ukrainian FPV drone is chasing it. Oh, it is a Bukhanka van that was disabled before. The first strike and tank was stopped. No, it was still moving, but later on was finished with the other drone. I don't know why this image is black and white, but that's the same vehicle. And one more tank, also electronic warfare that doesn't help at all. It was hit. Yeah, barely touched actually. So with one tank I may confirm it, judging on the video. By the way, those are Russians running all around, and this is some of the supply vehicle, I guess. So this one was annihilated. There is also one more tank behind my image here, but it was kaputted well before. It does not refer to today's operation, so there were 2 tanks in general on the road. One was definitely kaboomed, the other one under question. The source says that the Russian armored vehicle was hit, but it was the tank. We clearly saw it with optic FPV drones. Yep. And following this road of hell, let's go to Bakhmut, where Russia lost some of the air defense system. Oh yeah, that's the Grad system. I was telling you about it in my last update, most recent. By the way, guys, please check it out. As for the rest parts of the front lines, everything is more or less stable, boiling, and Russians are trying to go forward. Sometimes Ukraine counterattacks, but the intensity on the battlefield is uncomparable to what it was just a few months ago. Then Russians definitely sent so many vehicles, so many infantry, and they had so many losses. It's crazy, but now they mostly attack with infiltration attempts. The Institute for the Study of War confirms that Russia is planning one more big attack the next summer, or they might start in spring, and two of the main directions for them, as usual, Zaporizhia and Donetsk Oblast. Simply, they will continue to grind down their army. They have some time till summer to restructure the communication without Starlinks. They plan to use LTE modem bridges and different kind of stuff. We'll see, but they will not be successful in Donbass this year for sure, next year for sure. Ukrainian Donetsk Oblast is very defended. Zaporizhia as well, not as Donetsk Oblast, but close to it. So Russia will not be able to achieve its goals in Ukraine till the end of the Trump's term. And after it, maybe Ukraine will have extra support from USA with the new president. Okay, let's speak about the exchange of the prisoners of war. Those are the Russian soldiers who were captured, well, some of them a long time ago, and they were kept in Ukrainian captivity waiting for being sent back to Russia. You know, they used to love Russia a lot. After all, they were fighting for Russia in Ukraine somehow. But there is the time for exchange. And why this guy has a fear in his eyes, why he's so freaking disappointed, and he even says, like, answers to this girl, and the girl is Ukrainian, and she's told, like, Fyodor, are you happy? You are coming back to Russia, Fyodor. And Fyodor was, like, from what perspective depends, I don't know what to say. He was 16 months in a prison. He looks, by the way, okay, yeah, after 16 months of spending in some of the captivity, but why he doesn't want to go back to Russia? I have the answer for that. Just 2 weeks ago, this interview was published with Fyodor at the very end of January, yes. At the interview, he was told that he was declared dead, and definitely it's like that. Russia declared him dead. They buried someone's body, I mean his family, his wife, his mother. They buried him back in Russia, in Chelyabinsk city. It's not that far away from Kazakhstan border. Well, this guy is alive. He was in Ukrainian captivity, and he told the situation simply as it is, and he was a little, let's say, disappointed that he was buried down. I guess his family has already received compensation for him. Sometimes it's even an organized crime in Russia. I think I already mentioned that in my videos. Then some of the women, they're looking for those kind of the guys. They marry and send them, or force them actually, to go and fight for Russia. They try to find any sort of the excuse for that. And they were sure that the guy was flatlined in Ukraine, but he was captured 16 months ago, 1-6. And now exchanged after this video was published. So Russian side put him in the list for exchange as soon as possible. 157 prisoners of war were recently exchanged. It's a good result of Abu Dhabi talks, but those exchanges were actually happening without those talks as well. And looking into the eyes of this guy, he doesn't know what might happen to him in Russia. Maybe he told too much during his interview, but I would suggest to stay away from the windows and from the bus stops, because it's kind of the new fetish of Russian military intelligence, or whoever does those flatline operations from Russia. By the way, about the Russian general that was wounded, he is still in a critical condition in hospital. Right, then I saw those news from the NOI reports. I couldn't believe it. So India detains 3 sanctioned oil tankers from Shadow Fleet. Ukraine-Russia conflict, or war, it's better to say. 3 tankers were detained by Coast Guard of freaking India. And it happened not in the Indian port or something. It happened in neutral waters, 100 miles away from Mumbai. as source says. Yeah, we have it also from the open source intel. Indian Coast Guard sees 3 Iran-linked oil tankers about 100 nautical miles away from Mumbai. The names are Afjazia, Asphalt Star, and Stellar Robbie. Yeah, all of them were so far detained. Well, even though they say Iran-linked, it doesn't matter that it's only Iran. No, they have common fleet. Iran, Russia, Venezuela used to have. We know it also from the United States that landed its forces on the Russian registered ship that was previously registered in different country and was operating in Caribbean Sea, actually far away from Russia, but they used the same ships, Iran, Russia, and others. So yeah, I'm quite surprised with this Indian action. Those are the photos of the ships. They're very old, previously allegedly were decommissioned, later on restored and continued its operation. By the way, the main refinery in India also stopped processing Russian oil. This is outstanding. Something is happening there behind the curtains. Negotiations between maybe United States and India. The main goal for the United States is to sell their own oil to India. For them, they don't care about Russia. They want to have more profit. It's just the fight for the oil markets, and the Ukrainian war is just an excuse for Donald Trump to implement some of the sanctions against Russian oil, or maybe even to coordinate with India the detention of some of the ships of the Russian shadow oil fleet, not just Russian, as we know, and it could be also one more leverage to act or to create the pressure on Iran. As we know, the tensions in Middle East are escalating once again. Even Reuters published the article that Indian refineries avoid Russian oil in push for United States trade deal. India doesn't want to have Russian oil, but still they're purchasing. Private companies. Not as much as before, but the government support is totally closed. India is working with other countries, not with Russia, and Russia. For Russia, it's critical, definitely. For their economy, what is happening on the oil markets, it is damn bad. And Putin, this year, he will have to decide of whether he continues the war in Ukraine with mobilization or he should stop the war, ceasefire. But that is also kind of risky for Putin's regime. Lately, I haven't been speaking about the Russian strikes on Ukraine, but just right now, while I'm recording this video, Russia hit Odessa city with lots of the drones. Those are Shahi drones. Even the residential buildings were hit, cars are burning. It is terrible, guys. And the day before yesterday and 3 days ago, Russia also launched attacks on Ukraine. Lots of them. It is terrible. While Ukraine responds on the Russian strikes, also hitting Russian energy infrastructure, mostly in neighboring regions like Belgorod Oblast, Kursk Oblast, Bryansk. This video was filmed in Belgorod, and now there is partial blackout. Yeah, some of the flashes coming from the local substation. Happens, Russians, happens, but those people who live in different regions of Russia, they simply don't care. You know, Russia is a single country, but people who live inside Russia, they don't care about each other. Absolutely. There is no unity, actually. And that is one more reason that I think that Russia will be defragmented to the different states. For Moscow, they don't care. They don't care about Belgrade, Kursk, and Putin himself. For him, it doesn't really matter. He protects Moscow as hard as he can, but other regions of Russia, they're just minorities, you know, those people who, by the way, mostly vote for Putin. Yes, those who live outside Moscow, they support Russian peace. In Moscow, here and there. Well, anyways, Ukraine has to respond on that in the same way, hitting Russian energy infrastructure. A governor of the Belgorod region even announced the partial evacuation from Belgorod because of the blackouts. No heating, nothing, so they call citizens themselves to evacuate. They do not organize anything. They say if you have relatives in different regions of Russia, go there, because now we cannot handle what is happening. Alright, that's probably the reason why people who are against Putin's regime should not go to United Arab Emirates. Because right away after the assassination attempt of the Russian general, UAE extradited to Russia one of the Russian citizens who allegedly was involved in shooting of the Russian general. He was arrested in UAE and sent to Russia on a private jet. And actually, it contradicts the standard practice, where country should announce its own internal search. If the search is not successful, the Russian court gives its decision to announce the search in Interpol, and only after that there should be the court in UAE where this guy is allegedly located. After it, they capture the guy, but not sending to Russia. No, they should prosecute him and later on decide to send him back to Russia or not. This is how it is done in European countries. You might remember the case with one of the commanders of the Russian Nazi Rusich battalion. They unalived lots of the Ukrainians back in 2014, 2015, but later on he escaped to Norway and was caught in Finland. So despite all of his war crimes, Finland didn't extradite him to Ukraine. He was sentenced to life in prison in Finland, not long time ago, several months I guess. But in UAE, okay, Russia wants this guy, and UAE immediately sent him or her back to Russia. That's very dangerous, especially for the guys like me who are saying the things as they are and against Putin's regime. So for me and for members of the Russian opposition, let's say true opposition, it's better not to fly to UAE, of course. They have this internal coordination, I'm sure about it, judging on the fast reaction, yeah? So it's not good. Alright guys, it seems like my theory about huge bribe from Russia, or let's say business deal, cooperation between Americans and Russians, found its confirmation. We have it from Nexta, but many channels wrote about it. Putin offered Trump $12 trillion deal, Ukrainian intelligence claims. Zelensky said that intelligence services learned that Kremlin is trying to win over Donald Trump with a proposed deal worth $12 trillion, which is kind of strange because GDP of Russia itself is a little bit more than $2 trillion. So this deal, I think it's pretty much not possible for that amount of the money. More than 4 times its Russian GDP. According to Zelensky, the proposal is known as the Dmitriev package. Dmitriev freaking package, named after Kirill Dmitriev, who was appointed as the main negotiator from the Russian side, and not about the peace in Ukraine, no, but about this deal. And that's the main aim of Donald Trump and Putin. That's why they were meeting in Anchorage, in Alaska. For them, Ukraine is just an obstacle. They want to trade. But here, maybe, even with the war in Ukraine, they could start it. Could start this cooperation, potential one. That is what at least Russia is insisting on. But Americans, they still, they would like to do it even now. But they understand that Americans in general, they do not support this deal, while Russia continues its war crimes in Ukraine. So basically you fuel the Russian economy with the money Russia may use for its army, will use for sure, if this deal is agreed. The deal reportedly involves large-scale economic cooperation between the United States and Russia. I think it's not possible. Those countries are competitors in any sort of the way. Now just those two guys, they love each other. That's the one thing that unites those countries, I would say. Zelensky stressed that Ukraine will not support any agreements affecting its sovereignty or security if they are made without Kyiv's participation, and that's the smart move. And Ukraine will not let it happen. I mean, they can make this deal, and America may recognize Crimea as the Russian territory, even like that. But just temporary, till next elections, or maybe sooner, because Donald Trump, he is not a young guy after all. So is it something new, like for me personally? Not really, just one more confirmation of the stuff that was already understandable, that they want the deal. They don't care about lives of the people, civilians whatsoever. And there are so many justifications coming from the White House administration of the Russians' actions in Ukraine that is crazy completely. Mainly, Ukraine is being pushed by the White House and the United States. They don't want any guarantees even to sign for Ukraine. Absolutely. And this so-called peace agreement they prepare as a scam project for Ukraine to sign, for Russia to take Donbass, and after it, oh, we didn't know that Russia may restart this full-scale war, that they will go to Kharkiv, Dnipro, and so on. Oh, no, it's not us, it's Russia. Come on. But we already have the deal with Russia, and we don't want to cancel it. That's the main goal, and that is what Putin and Trump want to achieve, but Ukraine will not let it happen. I would suggest Zelensky to really be careful, especially for the next few months. It's critical. My friends are gonna keep you updated, and special thanks for my Patreon supporters and members of the channel, guys. Thank you so much for maintaining my motivation to film every day. And also, don't forget to press like to this video, subscribe for the channel to boost this video in algorithms. I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.